to a big pile of doggy doo that a big dog may poop in your yard and it still gets on your shoe. It's still doggy doo. And then, it looks like they've gone down to maybe a Yorkie size package, but it's still doggy doo. It's still bad policy. These policies are the same policies that were in the 3.5, and they're just using scoring gimmicks out here to lessen the years that it's actually going to be authorized. So the Democrats and the liberals and the far left still get all the far left wish list items that they want, and they're going to continue to negotiate higher as they go into kind of what we call the hostage taking portion of negotiations in the next few days.
I understand it's still not really, they're still not in the clear. The Democrats are that there's still Representative Joe Manchin still kind of on the fence. He says he's open to a bipartisan infrastructure bill, he's not really sure about this $1.75 trillion package.
Yeah, well, the bipartisan infrastructure bill has some good regulatory relief that I even put forward, like our One Federal Decision Act. What the Democrats are doing is they are trying to just tie everything together, so that they're trying to get Senator Manchin, Senator Sinema to say that they will vote for this $1.75 trillion pile of doggy doo and reconciliation, which is tax increases, which is Green New Deal priorities. And the far left in the House, they're saying we won't vote on infrastructure, which is really one of the few bipartisan bills that's passed the Senate this year, until you tie it together with this 1.75 reconciliation package, which I think will actually go up.
Interesting. And so it would go from coming up from over 3 trillion down to 1.75 trillion to what you think it's going to go back up to 2.5 trillion ish. What are we looking at?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It is, because what they're doing again is they're just using these gimmicks to say, well, it costs less. Well, because you then, instead of authorized it for 10 years, you've authorized the programs for 5. And I mean, that's just keeping the exact same program and hoping 5 years from now that Congress will reauthorize it, or it'll just go on autopilot until somebody does reauthorize it, and it just keeps going. So those are the things that I think the Central Illinoisans have to keep an eye on, and really understand what's hurting the Democrats right now. And I've never seen as bad a polling numbers for Democrats nationwide and in Illinois too, since I've been in Congress.
Is there anything that you see is a positive for the state of Illinois in this? I know you said there's not a whole lot, but is there anything that you see as a positive at all?
Well, there's bound to be some things that can be helpful in a $1.75 trillion package, but it's how you define helpful, and then how do you define how much it hurts? Because we have an inflationary crisis that the Biden administration is doing absolutely nothing about. And this bill will exacerbate that inflationary crisis. We have a border crisis, and this bill does not address the proposal that we've seen that will pay illegal immigrants who were separated at the border during the Trump administration $450,000 per person in their family, up to $1 million. This is crazy. Every single Democrat elected official in this country should have to answer as to whether or not they support that crazy policy. Can you imagine how many more illegal immigrants will come across the border if they know they can become millionaires? If they get separated from their kids, heck, they'll be like, separate us. We want to cash out when this is over.
Now, with that border crisis too, it's haven't heard a ton about it, at least in the regular, in the town hall news, at least on my side of here in Illinois. What have you been hearing late, outside of obviously the policies? What have you been hearing lately at the border from your side in DC?
Well, the border's still porous. We're seeing human trafficking, bringing families and bringing immigrants across the border on a regular basis. Remember, not too long ago, they had 11,000 people living under a bridge. 11,000 people under one bridge in Del Rio, Texas. That's the size of our hometown of Taylorville. Imagine that many people, the entire community of Taylorville, under a bridge, and they just illegally crossed the Rio Grande. That's one sector of the border. This administration is doing nothing. And we have a border wall that was pre-funded. The steel is sitting in Texas and across our, and the Biden administration canceled all that work. We have over $1 billion in steel sitting there waiting to be put up. And this administration shows you that their priority is to not do anything about our border crisis, which is why their polling numbers are flailing, which is why I think you'll see some big Republican victories on election day today in states like New Jersey and Virginia.
Yeah. Virginia is obviously a hot topic of discussion. At first, it looked like, well, first, let's back up a little bit. Virginia has been a state turning blue for over a decade now. And at first, entering entrance polls, it looked like the Democrat is going to win with ease. But now, as election day has gotten closer and closer, it looks like the Republican candidate could come away with a victory. Your thoughts?
I agree. I think Glenn Youngkin has done a great job closing the deal. Terry McAuliffe, the former governor, has been a terrible.
Still there, Representative Davis?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, you cut out there for a second. Last I heard was you were talking about the current governor.
Yeah, well, the former governor, Terry McAuliffe. Well, Virginia is interesting because they have term limits after one term for the governor. So Terry McAuliffe was a one-term governor, and the current governor, Ralph Northam, cannot run again. But McAuliffe, instead of talking about what he did when he was governor, and remember, Virginia is a state like Illinois, that statewide, it's a pretty Democratic state. Joe Biden won Virginia by 10 points or more. And when you look at what should happen in Virginia, the Democrats should win. But I don't see that happening. I've got a lot of friends here, a lot of staffers that live in the Virginia area, and they said they haven't seen this much excitement in a Virginia gubernatorial race since 2009.
And what's the expectation like in New Jersey?
I think it's a little more muted, but the polls show that it's getting closer. And if the Democrats are so unpopular nationwide and Governor Phil Murphy doesn't have a good voter turnout model, it could easily be an upset. And if that happens, I think you're going to start to see Democrats just flail out here in Washington and fight with each other, knowing that they're not going to have Nancy Pelosi as Speaker in the next Congress.
And obviously that's coming up here in about a year. Wow, already. Your thoughts on halfway through this term. How do you feel that it's going to turn out?
Well, I will tell you, I think we have a great opportunity to retake the House. If I was a betting man, I'd bet a lot of money that we would retake the House. The history's on our side. And when you look at the polling numbers Democrats are dealing with, I think you're going to see a lot of Republicans win districts that Democrats thought they drew for Democrats.
You're talking with U.S. Representative Rodney Davis here on the WTIM Morning Show. More from Representative Davis after this break. You're on WTIM, your information station.
At Golden Harvest, our best skill is knowing how to listen. From our Gold Series soybean and game-changing corn portfolios to our expert insights housed in the Illuminate digital agronomy platform, everything we offer is an answer to what we've heard from you. This is how we listen.
Peanut butter and jelly, cookies and milk, football in your favorite recliner. Some things work best in pairs. Enlist E3 soybeans from Golden Harvest are no different. Our exclusive Enlist E3
from
varieties
Randy
have
Miller,
strong
daughter of
ergonomics
Randy
and
Miller
disease
and
tolerance
managing
for your
director
conditions.
at Randy Coaching.
Get yours from Golden
Do you ever
Harvest
feel
today
like you
for
were meant
preparing
for
the
more or
performance.
want more meaning
This
in your
is
life?
how we
Do
listen.
you just feel stuck
Copyright
or even
2021
down?
Syngenta.
I'll help
The
you
trademarks or
discover
service
your
marks
life's
displayed or
purpose by
otherwise
looking
used herein are
inward
the
and
property of
strengthen the
Syngenta
gifts you
Group
already
Company.
have within
Enlist
you.
E3 soybean
You're my
technology is
personal
jointly
life
developed
and
with
business
Dow
coaching.
AgroSciences LLC
We'll
and
create
MS Technologies
long-lasting,
LLC.
meaningful
Enlist
change
E3
to
is a
help you grow
trademark of
from
Dow
the inside
AgroSciences
out.
LLC.
One
All
of my
other trademarks
clients
are the
said that
property
my
of their
coaching not
respective
only
owners.
helps her become more focused, but strengthened her confidence, which resulted in discovering her career direction. Another client said, after a chat with Rami, I feel as though my thoughts and feelings have been clearly understood. I would love to work with you. Feel free to reach out for a free 30-minute consultation to see if it's a good fit to work together. Go to www.rundeepcoaching.com. That's rundeepcoaching.com. rundeepcoaching.com. I can't wait to hear from you, and I'll talk to you soon.
This is Mike Adams, host of Adams on Agriculture. Glad to be back on News Talk WTIM, sharing my daily interviews with national and regional ag leaders. It's an hour of no-nonsense ag reporting where we take the time to discuss what's happening in agriculture right now and how it affects you, the Central Illinois farmer. It's part of over 8 hours a day of ag programming on News Talk WTIM's many platforms. Tune in weekday afternoons at 1:06 and join me, Mike Adams, for Adams on Agriculture on News Talk WTIM.
Hi, this is Whitney McAllister, the manager from the Slot Yard in Taylorville, a J&J Gaming sponsored parlor. See our latest winners and find out our drink specials by clicking our icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
This is Blaine Cornwell with Prairie State Insurance. To learn more about our products and services, click our icon on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show here on 96.1 FM in Christian County and online at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. U.S. Representative Davis on the phone here on WTIM Morning Show. And briefly here, let's talk a little bit about redistricting. Last time you and me chat, Representative Davis, we talked a little bit about how redistricting is impacting you personally. How is it looking for you now that these maps are pretty much set and done with?
Well, the governor still has to sign the maps that passed the House and the Senate in Springfield just late last week. The district that includes my hometown, our hometown of Taylorville and Christian County, is a district where I'm the only incumbent that lives there. And it goes from Taylorville down to Vandalia, then eastward to the Indiana border and wraps back around Champaign, and then goes to kind of explodes up to the Iowa border and then down to the St. Louis area. In a lot of areas that I've represented, about 80% of the people live in the same media markets that I've represented for 10 years. We've had some great conversations with folks in those new areas over the last week, and looking forward to seeing some of them in the future.
So, and there was this article that came out roughly after they were proposed that said that it would kind of misplace you, and then that's not right, is it?
No. It's always funny to watch some journalists and then others just misunderstand the process. I had somebody ask me once, what am I going to do because my house is not in my district? I'm like, well, where I live is my district. It's a new district. So I always liken it to, there's redistricting on the county board, right? If you were in District 4, but you are now in District 5 when they redistricted because of the census, then you're going to be able to run in District 5. But the bottom line is I don't plan to leave public service, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to meet folks all throughout new areas of Illinois.
Now, remind me, your seat is up for re-election in 2022?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years, yeah. And what are some of the things that you are going to begin campaigning on?
Well, doing what we can to stop the Biden administration from causing any more economic disasters and social disasters when it comes to not doing anything about our border crisis. I've led the fight against Nancy Pelosi, who has tried to take a top-down approach to nationalize our election processes. We're going to continue to fight against her and the Democrats' efforts to fund their own political campaigns with with taxpayer dollars that have been laundered as corporate fines through the federal government. These are the types of things we're fighting for now, and we're going to continue to fight. But I'm also going to be talking about our record of success. We got a voluntary private sector approach that can help with student debt, where employers can help pay down student debt. That was a longtime priority of mine, and many, many other things that we've decided to pass and work together to pass over the last 9 years.
Let's go local now, then into Taylorville and to all the way from where you're located currently in DC back to your home area. There is a lot of discussion of a skateboard park here in Taylorville. What would it have meant to you as a kid to have one?
Oh boy, I actually still have the last skateboard I got when I was in junior high, and I have the last BMX bike I used to race in junior high. And it would have been nice because I had my own quarter pipe ramp in my driveway that my neighbors, when I was a kid, probably got sick of me riding late at night. It would have been great to have a skate park. I certainly hope that our leaders in the park district can come up with a good plan that will give kids an outlet and do it in a way that's going to make it safe and make it usable for all of those who are growing up in our hometown.
Yeah, I think the concern isn't so much, whether or not to have one. I think everybody is on board with having a skateboard park. It's a matter of like, where does this exactly fit in our community here?
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't want, I mean, obviously this is a little bit out of your breadth, but do you have any ideas? I think anywhere where it can have good supervision and is accessible to the community would be good. That's where my opinion is.
Absolutely. And just like with elections, I don't want a national approach to a local decision.
Of course.
I'll trust the park district trustees to find a good location, but watch out. You might see some 51-year-old man riding a skateboard in that park and probably falling on my butt because I'm not as good as I used to be.
I find that with skateboarding, you have to love falling to get good, right?
And I do not like falling anymore at my age.
No, I didn't like falling much when I was when I skateboarded myself. Now I'm just taking a look at your website here. There's we're heading back to a national perspective a little bit. The first thing on the front page of your website is you opposing the IRS of looking around Americans' bank accounts and apparently doubling as IRS agents. What's up with that?
Yeah, the Democrats want to double the number of IRS agents because they say it'll bring in revenue. And what that does is and then they also want to change policies to allow the IRS to look at your bank account if you spend like $600. This is crazy. Already we have mismanagement at the IRS because many still have not returned back to the office. So it's difficult enough to get assistance at the IRS when they send you a letter of question or a possible audit letter. And really, it's frustrating because we see many audits going to families who make $25,000 a year or less, rather than going after those who are in a much higher income bracket. I don't want to see more families have to deal with the federal government in the name of Democrats getting their precious revenue to spend on their wild and crazy far left Green New Deal ideas.
Got to go here in about less than a minute or so. Your final thoughts before you get back to your day in DC.
Well, I'm just honored to have a chance to still represent my hometown in Washington. It's been a great privilege. I'm looking forward to new opportunities and new areas to be able to serve in the future. But I never forget my home, and we'll always continue to focus on Christian County and the folks that I grew up with. I'm proud to be a native, almost native, and I'm proud to be a resident still.
All right. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with us here on the WTIM Morning Show, Representative Davis, and take care.
You too. See ya.
You're listening to the WTIM Morning Show, heard live on WTIM TV, YouTube, and on the Big 870 across Central Illinois. WTIM, your information station.
With SRN